Hello there. It is 7:44 p.m. on Sunday the 29th of March 2026. I'm sitting on a log and I'm opening up a slog. Got this little Vendanage Chardonnay, and boy, it feels good to have my backpack off, y'all. It was a really interesting day, not for reasons that I feel like I can meaningfully convey, although I will try. But yeah, there's like an overwhelming, interesting thing that happened today that I kind of put together after seeing parts of the trail that I had kind of forgotten. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but give me a second. First, I should note that sometimes it is just the darndest thing. But, I was fairly sure and confident that I would get to the place I was hoping to camp tonight and that it would be vacant. But I pulled up and it was just like, no vacancy, y'all. There was someone there and I was like, ain't that just the darndest thing? Sometimes it really do be like that. But, that's where all of my many instances of stealth camping have come in handy, because it's just like, well, I'm in the woods, so it's just like, if I see a place that is reasonable, I will stay there. And so, I was slightly crestfallen, if I'm honest, just because I was like, dang, I had to climb how many feet? It was at least 600 feet in a mile, which is crazy steep and long, especially at the end of the day with a full pack after a resupply. But let me see, because I am curious, because that was quite a climb, if I do say so myself. 558 feet. Let's call it 600 since we're amongst friends. But that's also 558 feet within 1.1 miles. So for all intents and purposes, straight up. And then started going down, and I'm wearing my sandals because, today was a road walk, half-sea kind of day. And I was just like, dang, man, I ain't got no traction. Spoiler alert, Mom. Shout out to my parents. It's funny because, I release these episodes asynchronously, and I did get a text message today from my mom. She was like, don't get rid of your shoes. And I was like, ooh, I can't really say too much about that because I'll spoil it. But yes, I think keeping both pairs of shoes is a smart idea, and I certainly intend to do it. Let's see what time the sun sets today, shall we? Oh, come on. Battery saver mode. You're bumming me out. Current location, the low is 32. This is another situation where that doesn't seem like that's true. Maybe the low already happened for today, which would make sense, because it was very cold earlier, 7:44, so I guess technically the sun has set. I think it's kind of strange when you have a weather app and it won't let you go past a certain time in the past. When was it supposed to be 32 today? You know what I'm saying? I can only assume that was earlier today, but it's weird to have the low for the day early in the day, the previous day. Who knows, dude? But yeah, so today was an interesting day thematically, because this is actually the area of the trail which does intrigue me a lot, and I hadn't really put this together, even though I kind of had bits and pieces of it. But in 2019, this stretch of trail right out of Bland, Virginia, that I walked through today, in 2019, this was the most difficult part of the trail for me. This was so if we go back chronologically in 2019, there is a small little store called the Brushy Mountain Outfitters that's about, 2 miles back on the trail, and prior to that, there is a campsite. I think it's called Davis Farm Campsite or something like that. But anyway, my shoes back then had degraded to such a point to where they had really started to cut into my heels, both of my heels. And so I stopped wearing my actual shoes and started hiking in my Crocs, the foam sandals. And so I did a 16-mile day wearing Crocs, and kind of where I'm camping now, basically. So in 2019, geographically speaking, if this makes sense, what would have been tomorrow back then would have been the hardest day on trail for me. because I basically just destroyed my Achilles tendons. you know, uh, back then, those Crocs, like, for whatever reason, I mean, obviously they're not hiking shoes, so that's probably the reason. But yeah, just interesting to know that like this next stretch of trail all the way to Woods Hole was the most difficult stretch of trail I ever had to do. And it was where I was certainly the lowest I've ever been because of physical malady. And I'm kind of excited actually to hike it now. Like, I was looking at the trail, and there is a little bit of a shortcut trail that I might take tomorrow, probably will take, especially because I have to go a mile to get some water tomorrow, just because there's none. It's supposed to also rain though overnight. I don't know. Now I'm getting a little sneaky with my thoughts. I don't know. We'll figure it out tomorrow. But yes, basically the stretch from here all the way to Woods Hole Hostel was like the most difficult time I ever had. And Parisburg was where I discovered ibuprofen and was able to get back on trail in a reasonable like level of health and confidence and everything. But this section really shook me, and so I felt a little bit I felt a little out of it today. I think it was interesting. I did reflect. I was like, well, I really didn't sleep well last night. I was freezing cold like all night long. And just like other recent nights where I've been very, very cold, I woke up at somewhat of a standard like frequency, and I would just have to like move a little bit because I guess my body would like, I'd start getting bed sores basically. And I'd have to turn over, and I'd have to go into fetal position so I could kind of round up my heat, because I really didn't want to move, because as soon as I moved, that's where I'd encounter like a bunch of cold spots within my sleeping bag and my sleeping system. It was a really cool visual place to camp. Also, my face is like really chapped from just being cold all night. I think that I don't know if I was imagining it or if it was real. It's probably real. But I'm pretty sure, because I put my bandana over my face when I was trying to fall asleep, I'm pretty sure that the outside of it froze while, like, I was trying to sleep, from the condensation of my breath and then just the temperature differential between the air, which it did get very windy last night, too. I probably already mentioned that. But didn't sleep particularly well, and so I'm looking forward to tonight because I think I will sleep particularly well. I'm at about 3,100 feet, so I forget what Notebook LM always calls it, but there's this thing about like, you can basically map out how many degrees will the temperature drop based on your elevation. And so, I'm 1,500 feet lower. It's cool out for sure. The low is supposed to only be in the 40s if I understand what I just looked at properly. And that sounds like comfortable sleeping weather, and if the wind doesn't necessarily pick up, which it's strange, I still am perplexed, even though I do try to approach everything from that biological materialistic lens. It just seems counterintuitive to me that wind would increase in ferocity overnight. I mean, it makes sense because it's like, again, it's like the molecules are falling from a high energetic state to a lower energetic state. So it's kind of just like dropping bowling balls from the sky. Like during the day, I guess atoms would be a better way to describe it, because bowling balls, it sounds like bowling balls. And as I say this even now, the wind is blowing through a little bit. It was a windy day. It was windy all day long. And it was a strange kind of feeling, too, because it was really cold in the shadows and really hot in the sun. So it was very difficult to get like the clothing layering system correct, because you were apt to be too hot or too cold depending on just plainly where you happened to be standing, or what you were climbing, or what you were descending. Even now, there is a chill that I feel deserves a bit of a response from me. So I put my hood up just for a little bit of protection. But yeah, just interesting. As I was walking and feeling a little out of it, I was thinking about turtles, because I was listening to Michael Crichton's book, which was an interesting book. Ooh, there's like a breeze behind me now. It feels like a ghost is blowing on my butt with really cold air. Michael Crichton's book was really interesting. he strikes me as someone who is way more insecure than I ever thought that he was. And it's interesting because it seemed like he, for a lot of his life, was really striving to understand himself, and he went far off of the beaten path in that pursuit, but his ego was just so blinding to him that it was really hard for him to actually see what he was looking for, even though by his own account it sounds like it was staring at him several times throughout his life. But, an interesting book, and a very different book from Stephen King's book. I feel like Stephen King almost can't help but be in touch with himself in a way that makes him like not question himself existentially in the same way that Michael Crichton did, but also like knowing Michael Crichton's story a little bit more now intimately. Michael Crichton was like, he was 6'7", and he describes himself as like, just extremely skinny for his entire life and also sickly. And it was just interesting to listen to. He spoke about turtles. And, he traveled a lot in his life. His book is called Travels. And he, at one point, wanted to see these huge, like 300-pound turtles lay their eggs in some place in the world, Malaysia or something like that. And, it is a interesting mystery of nature how these turtles are able to find the exact place where they presumably, I guess, were born in order to go and lay their own eggs, And I wondered in the same kind of way if today, as I was walking through this general area, if my body was picking up on like a geological past trauma, since this is the area where I originally hurt my Achilles so badly. Not for nothing that, I think Michael Crichton would also co-sign the fact that consciousness and awareness and all of those things that go along with that are very slippery things to try to define and get a handle on. And so, to me, especially after listening to that book and being primed for all of its information, I was just like, yeah, that could definitely be, like, my body, they say the body keeps the score, or at least that book does. And, it was just interesting to think. I was like, I wonder if my energy is being drained a little bit just because of the psychic trauma of the past relationship that I have to this area. And it's such a subconscious process that I'm not even aware of it in a meaningful way. It's just like my body knows that something bad happened here. In 2022, I don't even remember. I'm sure I mentioned I couldn't help myself but to do so because it is such a interesting thing to relive, especially in different physical states. Like, I'm sure I'll be fine tomorrow, but it will be interesting to relive some of what I remember going through. I remember, like I said recently, crawling up hills sideways, so slow because of the pain. It was such a unique pain, such a sharp pain, like a literal feeling that it's my Achilles tendon, but the feeling that it could snap under pressure, and just this strange, like, inability to conceive once more if the pain that I was feeling was like, I think it's pretty obvious it was an injury, but if it was something that was like actually as drastically formidable as it felt, or if in a certain sense, like my body was kind of like over exaggerating in the same way that like the homunculus, again, the somatosensory homunculus, which I would recommend. Maybe I'll make it the picture for this album art. But if I say that, I need to write that down because there's no way I'll remember that. But yeah, I will do that. I don't think I did that before. Actually, I think I did do that before. I think I did that when I was on my road walk to Amicalola. But I'm gonna do it again just because, there's nothing that makes you. Well, I guess I should use I statements. There's nothing for me that is any more indicative of how true that representation of body sensation is than that image. And hiking really, really makes it painfully clear that that is the way that the brain perceives pain and sensation in general in terms of perception. But anyway, Today was great. I mean, it was a difficult day, a long day. I kind of knew it was going to be like high mid 20s just because the road walks and going through Bland and all that kind of stuff. What's my phone doing stuff? Stop doing that. I don't like it when my phone talks to me unprompted. I think every single time my phone should serve me, and not the other way around. It should only talk to me when I ask it something. It should never have a notification outside of text messages that I didn't request, but that's just a personal peeve. So yeah, to the day itself. Woke up pretty early. I think like 6:22 or something like that. It was before sunrise for sure. But just at the beginning of twilight, or is that what they call it? I guess dawn would be a better word. And yeah, just had a typical slow morning. I had heard that Fresh Grounds was going to be at the Gap that was 6 miles away. I guess I already mentioned that. And so maybe I already mentioned most of my morning. So let's just skip ahead. 6 miles into the day, I got to the Gap, and true to form, Fresh Grounds was there along with the other people. Bad Mom, Iceman, Czar, and Crumbs. And Fresh Grounds' trusty companion, Joker, was there. Nice to see him again. Haven't seen either one of them since Devil's Fort Gap back south of Irwin. So that was nice. And Fresh Grounds certainly enjoyed, I think, seeing me. He was like, "Moron, how you doing?" I was like, "Good, my dude. Very happy to see you." But yeah, it was interesting. Crumbs had taken a spill at some point on the hike down to the Gap, and he had messed up his knee pretty good. And everyone was kind of it was very touching, honestly. This is like these people are part of a tramway with each other, and they all rallied around him to help. And I kind of got the sense that they kind of may have been taking it more seriously than I did. I think if you fall and hurt your knee, you're kind of just doing things right. So yeah, Crumbs, if you ever hear this, yeah, that's the proof of purchase of adventure, my dude. You run, you fall, that's the trail. There's a lot of ways to fall. It's not just physical. You know what I'm saying? I think that you do. And yeah, so they were all kind of gathered around him, and it was just a nice convivial moment. Talked with Iceman, who I didn't speak with last night because he had gotten a package yesterday in Marion, and then he arrived really late at night at the shelter. I was probably already asleep, or at least trying to go to sleep. I think I put a timer on a podcast last night for 45 minutes, and I know it stopped before I was actually asleep, but it was close enough. So yeah, had a nice little time there from 10:30 till about, I guess I was probably there for about an hour. Had some soup, delicious. Had a grilled cheese sandwich, delicious. Had a couple of cups of coffee and hot chocolate mixed in with it, delicious. And I was kind of buzzing. I was ready to go, And so at 11:53, that's a number that stands out. 8595842, right? Shout out to my parents. At 11:53 or so, I hit the trail because I knew I needed to do 8 more miles, and I had plenty of food in order to get there, and I was ramped up and I was ready to go. I could tell that the blood sugar was hitting my system, or the sugar was hitting my blood, and I was like, all right, I gotta go. Everything, all systems are fully topped off, yeah, so I hiked on trail. I could have gone down from that point. That was also a road crossing intersection. But the road that Fresh Grounds had taken to get up there was it looked ridiculous. There were so many insane switchbacks, and I was just not interested in doing a bunch of crazy mountainous road crossing or road walking down this thing. It looked like it added a bunch of extra miles, maybe close to 2 miles just to get down to the road. Not a straight shot. So yeah, I walked 8.8 miles, I think, from there. all the way to, and shout out to Iceman. He and I had a good conversation for a little bit, which was fun. Before I left, he was the last one who I really talked to. And shout out to Fresh Grounds, and shout out to Joker, and shout out to my parents, by the way. The moon is out. It looks pretty cool. It's like nearly full. Not quite completely, but close. And yeah, I just pushed hard the whole time. And then I got to the road that took me to Bland, and that was like, I don't know, I think that was like close to 7 miles to get into Bland. And once I finally like got on the road and was walking for a while again, that was when I felt like the most fatigued, I would say. I don't know if it was like too little water, too little food, or also just the psychic memory of this area and what it did to my body 7 years ago. Body keeps the score. But yeah, that road walk was a little bit monotonous and laborious for sure. But eventually I saw the salvation sign I was looking for, a Circle K. And so I went in there, got a water, got a electrolyte mixed drink, bought some wine, bought 6 Zen canisters for $17, which is insane. Again, if you'll recall and review, when I was in San Francisco, a single unflavored 3 milligram Zen container was $11. And today I bought 6 for $16-ish. Better living in the South, my dude. You know what I'm saying? I think that you do. And yeah, so the Circle K was like a bit of a godsend and a good reset, and I felt good. Felt better walking away from there. Felt a little bit more refreshed. I was also having some anxiety about like if I had drank some bad water or if I was going to feel like overly full from eating so much food at Fresh Grounds, but it was no matter in truth. And so I pressed on. From there, I went to Grant's IGA grocery store and did a pretty haphazard resupply. I was just still kind of feeling out of it. But then one of my new favorite snacks is just to get a 4-pack of frozen Uncrustables and just eat all of them while they're still in various states of frozenness. And so I did, and had some pepperonis, which I'm excited to eat tonight. I'm going to have to, I think I already mentioned, but yeah, tomorrow I have to go to a shelter and then do like this mile round trip for water. So I won't be making any kind of fancy ramen dinner tonight. It's just going to be dry stuff so I can have coffee in the morning and have water for my bidet should the mood strike me. But yeah, the IGA was great. Enjoyed talking to the staff there. They said they hadn't seen very many hikers, but the fact that the campsite up the way was occupied to me says otherwise. But who knows what the story is there. And so yeah, left the IGA, walked all the way back up to the trail, which I think was about 3 or 4 miles, and then I walked 1 point something miles to get here. And that was arduous, to say the least. That was like, again, all uphill, 558 feet. And I was just like, again, crestfallen to see that the space was occupied. But sometimes it really do be like that, though. Okay, so, yeah, there's 2 things that I guess I'll talk about. One, this kind of comes out of me listening to the Michael Crichton book, but also just other conversations that I've had with people recently. And it's something that Paul Conti said while he was speaking with Andrew Huberman. I highly recommend, and again, I'm not one to give like homework or advice to other people, but I think that the mental health series that Paul Conti and Andrew Huberman have together, which is like about 8 hours of material. It's some of the most valuable stuff I've ever listened to, and it is the thing that like really informed me about the importance of agency gratitude and generative drive. But one of the things that Paul Conti talks about, and it's kind of a throwaway comment, honestly. He says it so quickly and so matter-of-factly and so just like as if it's nothing, but it's really stuck with me and struck me, is that one should not make themselves special in ways that hurt them. And I have to say, listening to the Michael Crichton book, talking to other people who I've spoken with recently, I can hear quickly when speaking with people. I don't claim to be any kind of clairvoyant or psychic or someone who has any kind of pulse on things that are below the surface in any truly meaningful way. But I do think that I have increased my emotional intelligence and my empathy in the past few years due to what? I guess dissecting myself. And that's an imperfect pursuit, because again, the whole point of examining blind spots is that they're very difficult to observe by definition, because you can't see them if they are your blind spots. I always think about the blind spot of when a car is passing you, that one little point in their progression where they cannot be seen in your mirrors. You have to physically look around. But yeah, in any case, not making yourself special in ways that hurt you. I feel like the negative self-talk and the negative feelings that people have towards themselves, and I'm guilty of this as well. Of course, I think it's part of the human condition, but looking at it honestly and seeing that there are infinite versions of ways that you can think of yourself, and look at things in ways that hurt you, that is something that should always be, and I don't like shoulds, but it behooves me to, when these things are observable, to really see them for what they are, and to acknowledge them for the purpose that they serve, but also to dismiss them for the limitation that they impose. You know what I'm saying? Don't make yourself special in ways that hurt you, whatever the story is that you tell yourself in your head of inadequacy, of anything negative, if you wouldn't say it to another person because you wanted to, if you wouldn't say something to another person because you didn't want to hurt their feelings, you should also not say that to yourself for the same reason, and if not anything, more so. I guess I should rephrase that. Treat yourself the way you want others to be treated. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe I've said enough. Maybe I haven't said enough. That 8-hour epic between Paul Conti and Andrew Huberman to me is invaluable, and it is priceless, and it really can't be beat. The four, what is it? There are 4 different episodes. One is assessing your mental health. One is improving your mental health. One is improving your relationships, and I don't remember what the 4th one was, but it's really, really good content. It's one of the few things beyond just the Harmontown podcast, which is my favorite, that I keep on my phone at all times, downloaded for offline listening. So, if I'm hungry for insight or some kind of if I'm hungry for insight, I can just put that on just at any point, and I always hear different things. It's interesting. I feel like I've actually really honed in on my ability at this point, because of this trip, to focus on things. I think the audiobooks have helped because they're so long, and it's no fun to listen to something if you're not paying attention. And so, like, ebbing in and out of like podcasts and audiobooks, I can tell when I'm not paying attention, and I almost feel like I have a mechanical way of kind of like, how like train tracks have like the thing that makes the train go to a different track. Like, I feel like I have a little bit more control over my attention in that way. Like, I can kind of flip that switch just a little bit, maybe a little bit more strongly, a little bit more intentionally than I could have done 29 days ago or whatever. How many days have we been out here? What's today? Yeah, 29. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. And then my last note, what is this dude? What is this dude? My phone telling me stuff. Don't tell me anything. Rude. So the last thing is, actually I already forgot. What did it say? Oh, yeah. So I was thinking that it was kind of a shame. I volunteered with the Nantahala Outdoor Center's Trail Maintenance Club for about a month before getting on the trail. And I learned a lot doing that. I've actually been very conscientious and proactive as I've been hiking when I see sticks and I see things that are like an encumbrance for a hiker to move through an area. If it's something that I can just easily manipulate with my actual hands, I will like move branches, move sticks, move small trees, because I'm just like, I'll use the word bull squish. I'm just like, this isn't bull squish. Like, this doesn't need to be here. And I can spend like, 15 joules in terms of Newtonian force, and like move this thing out of the way so that the next person who goes by doesn't like poke their eye out or get scratched by some thorns or have to possibly trip over like a what would you call that? A troublesome rock or something like that. Like, I'm moving all this junk out of the way when I can do it quickly and fluidly. And I was like, man, if I had had a little bit more foresight and a little bit more experience with the Trail Maintenance Club, it would have been really, really cool for me to be like a forward observer through the North Carolina section that I walked through, that at least the Nantahala Outdoor Center Trail Maintenance Club kind of maintains, so that I could have like taken pictures of every blowdown that I went by, any kind of area that needed maintenance or anything like that. Because every picture that I took would have had like metadata, so it would have had coordinates, and it would have been just a very brief snapshot of how things were at a very specific time, and it wouldn't have a lot of staying power. As I thought about it, I was like, well, with every storm that goes through, this data becomes less and less relevant. But I do consider it a bit of a missed opportunity, because I could have given them like a spreadsheet with images and coordinates for everything that I saw in the area that they maintain. And then I kind of started wondering about, doing that even further, so that I would I feel like it would be good to do that as a thru hiker in general. Like, if I was going to be doing a pure trail experience, it would be great, having done the work with the maintenance crew that I did, to be able to present coordinates and images to clubs of the encumbrances that were encountered along the way of the trail. I feel like that's something that the ATC should actually hire people to do. A few like enterprising thru hikers just taking pictures of the state of the trail as they make their way through it, just to have a baseline. Again, it's a vanishing point on the horizon to try to keep tabs on something organic. It would only be a snapshot, a moment in time, but it's valuable data for what the Appalachian Trail stands for, which is like an unbroken footpath from Georgia to Maine. And it just seems like that was a bit of a missed opportunity. If I had spent 2 months at the Nantahala Outdoor Center Maintenance Club, it might have occurred to me that would have been a useful thing to provide them. But it didn't occur to me. Not until 600 miles in. Or whatever it is. How many miles in am I? Let us see. Let us see. I currently am at mile 594, 31, 300, oh my God. I'm at 3,130 feet, 3,130 feet. So yeah. And how far am I from the shelter? Man, that shelter is way off trail. How far off trail is that? 0.2. Steep trail. Sounds like a nightmare. Can't wait. Yeah, gotta love the ridge lines of Virginia. It's a lot of fun not having any water. Although, 7.2. I don't even know. Well, again, I'll do that tomorrow. So, that's all my stuff for tonight. And, yeah, love you. Bye.